Welcome, everybody, to QB Power Hour. Today is December 15, 2016. And today's episode is Top 10 Apps for QuickBooks in 2016. The hosts of QB Power Hour are Michelle Long and Hector Garcia. However, Michelle Long is not here with us today because she's at another web seminar with Intuit that's actually conflicting with this one. The agenda for today is we'll talk about QB Power Hour real quick. We'll discuss the CPE and ACE process. And then the topics, which is going to be the bulk of what we'll cover, and the learning objectives are to kind of learn the functionality, basic functionality or sort of basic facts of some of these third-party apps that talk to QuickBooks and communicate both financial and non-financial information back and forth, so you can determine whether or not these apps could be right for a particular client or a particular industry. In some cases, these apps create reports or are there for you to enter the data in the app and transfer it to QuickBooks, or just simplify data entry altogether. So about QB Power Hour, we are a webinar series, usually twice a month. It's actually every other Thursday at 12 p.m. Eastern. The next episodes are going to be in January 12th and January 26th. In other words, this will be the last episode of 2016. We do not have topics for January yet. We actually have a lot of ideas and we haven't figured out one yet. We usually do tips and tricks and advanced insights, typically 50% QuickBooks Desktop, 50% QuickBooks Online. In certain cases, we'll have special guests or we'll discuss third-party apps and things of that nature. In today's episode, we will not be doing anything in product, nothing in product whatsoever. We will not be going into QuickBooks, and we will not be going into any specific app. And the reason for that is one of the feedback that people gave us is when we do app demos and they're really, really short, they tend to do it a disservice. So instead, we're going to go slow and we're going to cover all the 10 apps. We're going to cover why we picked it as a top 10. I myself will give you some personal commentary if I use the app, and some of them, Michelle uses the app and she tell me to give you some commentary on those. So that's going to be the format for today's episode. So Michelle Long, owner of Long for Success, runs the LinkedIn group that has over 160,000 members called QuickBooks Successful Consultants. Check that out. My name is Hector Garcia. I'm a CPA, work and live in Miami, Florida. I have my own classroom where I teach QuickBooks, a little bit of Excel, and in some cases, some tax as well. There's my email and my Twitter handle if you want to get a hold of me or talk about the webinar today or whatever, you can do that. Upcoming episodes, these are live episodes. Live events. Scaling New Heights in Orlando, my neck of the woods, a couple hours from where I am, will be in June. Definitely recommend. I'll be teaching there. I'm not sure if Michelle will be teaching there yet. WoodenEvents.com for that. And QuickBooks Connect was announced in San Jose, California. Again, I believe this will be the fourth year that QuickBooks will have a national convention or a user convention or whatever you want to call it. QuickBooksConnect.com, check it out. I heard this year's was a blast. I personally missed it for personal reasons. CPE and ACE process. So if you need CPE, if you're a certified bookkeeper or a CPA or something similar, you must attend the webinar live. So if you're watching a replay through YouTube, it won't count. You must be logged in for at least 50 minutes. We changed the process. If you haven't logged in for a while, we will not be doing a keyword. Basically, we'll ask 4 polling questions throughout the entire webinar. 4 polling questions, and so you have to be there to answer them. Doesn't matter if you answer wrong or right, just answer something. And if you answer 3 out of the 4, that enables us to generate the certificate. We usually email it within 3 weeks, sometimes faster. This particular episode is not approved for ACE. So if you're looking for advanced continuing education, this one will not provide. So we have sent all the CPE certificates up to the last episode, December 1st. So please check your spam folder for qbpowerhour@gmail.com or hector@qbpowerhour.com as the senders if you cannot locate them, because few people ask me for them and then they go back and check and they're already there, and it's a very long, tedious manual process to check for those. Anyway, the purpose of today's episode is to give an award, the top 10 apps for QuickBooks of 2016. That's the logo for the award. So any of these app developers that are watching or will watch the replay, you can use that logo because that's the award we're giving you. None of these third-party developers know about this award. We haven't let them know. This will be the first time that they'll know. Some of them deep inside kind of know because of their contribution to the industry and everything. But we have not announced those top 10 yet. So this will be the first time. So the first thing I'd like to do is talk about the ranking and methodology. It's really, really important to discuss ranking and methodology. And the reason why I want to say that is because a lot of times people don't really know or understand, why would anyone um, um, give top something to anyone? Like what is the encouragement? And in our opinion, Michelle and I, in our opinion, it's really important for us to have sort of a philosophy to live by and have sort of guidelines in terms of how we go about doing this. So the methodology itself is designed for us to kind of have a kind of a compass, right? So this is these are all of them. They're not in order, but the more the app itself fits into any of these categories, the higher they go in the ranking in our minds. Anyway, if Michelle and I use it, that's going to be a strong reason probably why we would pick an app, because we use it every day, or if we are actively using it with our clients or recommending it to our colleagues or have close colleagues raving about it, that's going to play a big role. The other one is it listed in apps.com? We find that to be really, really important because that's Intuit's vetting system. The number of reviews and ratings in apps.com. So we look at that too. We want to know what the community thinks about these apps in terms of experience. Does it work with both QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online? Now, I would say in past episodes, if it didn't work with QuickBooks Desktop, I wouldn't give it any points whatsoever. However, times are changing and most people are moving to QuickBooks Online. So we do make it a minimum requirement that the app has to be compatible with at least QuickBooks Online for them to make it to this top 10. Also, developer support, customer service, access to a partner accountant program. Something that will make it easier for an accountant or a consultant to get access to the app, even for their own use, for testing grounds. We make that a strong case for consideration as well. Unique competitive advantage from competitors. Uniqueness is also a really, really big deal. Strong focus on getting user feedback and actually history of improving the app based on user feedback. Ease of use and implementation, I would say that's a really important one. Whether there's specific training, educational resources, and or thought leadership, on the specific subject matter or for the accounting sort of accounting industry, and being best in class in a specific niche or category also makes a big deal for us. Now, there it is. There's the top 10 list for 2016. It's in no particular order. We identified the ones that have received the award in multiple years. So T-Sheets, again, for time management, it's third year that we give them the award. For receipt management and expense reporting, Expensify, and that is the second year we give them the award. For document management, HubDoc, second year in a row as well. For reporting, QVinci, second year in a row. Data import to Qbo Convert Pro, second year in a row. CRM, Insightly, first time I ever talk about Insightly in the past 2 years of QB Power Hour. So this is a new app in our realm. For contractor and construction, Notify, again, another app that we have never discussed or demoed before. It's the award for contractor and construction management. For workflow and project management, Carbon. And we'll talk about every one of these apps. We'll kind of break them down. We'll discuss some of the details, and we'll also talk about the competitors. And in some cases, we'll make some discussions. So Carbon or Carbon HQ, commonly known, will be for workflow and project management. For income tax management, also a fairly newcomer, Tax Planner Pro. They did sponsor or demo, I think last year, their application, but it's gotten so much better this year. So they definitely deserve the award. And for 1099 form tax management, tax 1099. All right, so let's jump into each of the apps and kind of break them down. There's one really important thing. Someone asked the question whether I am a stockholder or a shareholder on any of these applications, and the answer is no. However, there's one specific that I will disclose, in which I was actually involved in the development, but I'm not an investor or an owner or affiliated in any direct way. So that's another really important thing, because I think that's good disclosure. So Tim, I appreciate the question. Anyway, before we go to the first one, let me do the first polling question. And as I mentioned, we're going to do a total of 4 polling questions, and you need to answer at least 3 to get your CPE credit. So first polling question is, when evaluating an app or a third-party app, what is the most important? I know they're all important, but what is the most important? What is the most important? And we'll have the question up for a minute, 90 seconds or so. When evaluating a third-party app, what is the most important from the 5 choices there? I'm sure there are more choices, but this webinar system only allows us to do 5. So we got about 90% of the votes. I think I would like to get maybe 95%, especially if you want that CPE credit. So I'm going to take the question down in about 20 seconds. Again, when evaluating a third-party app or an app, what is the most important? Is it price? Is it integration and compatibility? Is it education, training, and materials? Is it customer service? Is it ease of use for the end users? All right, I'm going to go ahead and take the polling question down, going once, going twice, and let me share the results, because I think this is an interesting piece. We have over 250 people logged in live right now, and most of you are accountants, pro advisors, QuickBooks consultants, and this is a really, really important piece. So ease of use for the end users and integration and compatibility. And that goes beyond just them saying it integrates. I think it's a lot more about how it integrates. Does it come in as a journal entry? Does it override transactions? Does it duplicate? Is it confusing? Sorry, I misspelled the word important there. I think that's really important. Okay. So it looks like it's sort of a battle between integration and compatibility and ease of use. Now, few of you price, but I think that for the most part, I think us in the profession, we are really most important about it solving the issue rather than how much it costs, because anything that's to do with accounting or data entry, if you can save an hour, 2, 3, a couple dollars here and there, are not really a big issue. Okay, thank you for giving that feedback. That was the first one. So first app, T-Sheets. So let's break this down. T-Sheets is a time tracking, timesheet management, and scheduling tool for employees. Now, why is it 3 things? Because you can do 3 separate things in T-Sheets. One is you can actually have people enter their time with an iPhone, with a tablet, through a website, through a phone number, through Twitter. They can even tweet their time in, time out. And the system will capture that person's time in, time out, and accumulate those hours. Then it's timesheet management. Why? Because in certain cases, people forget to clock in or people forget to clock out. They don't clock in or out for lunch. They work overtime when they're not supposed to. All these things happen. So a manager or a supervisor can look at the high-level view, look at the timesheet, make changes and modifications before sending it to payroll. And it's also an employee scheduling tool. This is brand new for 2016. They added a scheduling tool that actually allows you to compare scheduled time versus actual time, which allows you to be a little bit more proactive as a manager in terms of where your staff is supposed to be and what time they're supposed to go home and all that stuff. Now, some of the fun facts, they announced recently, a couple of months ago, or actually a month ago, integration with QuickBooks Online with in-product experience. This means that in the next couple of months, you're going to be seeing T-Sheets functionality inside of QuickBooks Online and the QuickBooks Online mobile experience, which will no longer require certain tasks for you to have to be logged into T-Sheets at the same time logged into QuickBooks Online in a separate window. So you'll be able to do some basic timesheet functionality within the product, which is huge. And there's only a few apps out there that have the privilege of have that level of integration with Intuit. It also integrates with Intuit Online Payroll for people that don't want to send timesheets into QuickBooks Online. And it can export to all the major payroll processors such as ADP, Paychex, and it's also DCAA, DOL, and FLSA compliant, which means all these government regulation industries that want to see specific reports that show that the company is compliant with those hours or the way the hours and the wages are being allocated. T-Sheets is compliant with all those. And if there are other compliance issues, you bring it up to T-Sheets. And if it's major enough, they'll develop it or make it or add it into their application. Now, why did we pick them specifically? Customer service is top notch. They continue to grow. They have the deepest brand recognition in the timesheets category. In my personal opinion, they are best in class in the timesheet management category. And it has the fastest adoption rate among employees of companies that use T-Sheets. So with my own personal clients trying to use different timesheet management apps, T-Sheets is the one that seems to be the one that most employees, which are the people that actually clock in and out, tend to be sort of positive towards or want to do their timesheets. And you all know that if you ever implemented anything in a company with employees, if you don't get the buy-in, it's a really difficult process. Now, some of the similar tools or competitors out there are Ability, Tally, Big Time, and Harvest. And let me tell you, all four of those are great apps. They all have the merits of their own. But again, all those, we talked about the criteria, all those things combined, T-Sheets continues to be the king in this category. So tsheets.com. All right, next app, Expensify. So this is the app that we picked for the receipt management and expense reports. It can manage expenses, mileage, billable time. Now, Expensify itself, it's both receipt management and also an expense reporting tool. As a receipt management tool, it is not the best. If I was going to rate Expensify's receipt management or document management capabilities, I don't think that portion of it is the best. But the expense reporting and the ability to be able to pay the employees or vendors their reimbursements digitally within the Expensify app, it's a really, really strong thing. Also, Expensify has been doing this for a while now, and they work with major companies, in the development end companies, big financial companies, which I won't mention because I'm not sure if that's public information or not. But so they have really strong infrastructure and security. Now, some of the fun facts: it integrates with Uber, so Uber can send information into it. So if you travel a lot and you use Uber quite a bit, all that Uber expense can come into your expense report for reimbursement. Now it's got a smartphone app that can scan receipts and upload them just like a lot of its competitors. It can actually connect to your credit card, so you can connect to your American Express, download those transactions, and you can pick and choose which you're going to get reimbursed for. So that's really big. A free account for QuickBooks Pro advisors and accountants, and that is one of the things that sells me on it. So if you're going to give me a free account for my own use, I think I'm going to be a little bit, lobbied towards it, just because I was able to test it myself and give me the confidence to then recommend it to my clients. Now, they recently announced an integration with T-Sheets. So if you got a client that loves T-Sheets and needs to go to reports, expense reporting, and doesn't really want to use the timesheet feature in Expensify, now they can work in tandem. So I think that's a really strong thing. Now, why did we pick it as a top 10? Again, I think it's the easiest to use and implement. They have great customer service, strong brand recognition, and for expense reporting in the professional services category, they're best in class. Now, what are some of the similar tools or competitors? Again, we have Tally, Receipt Bank. I specifically said that this wasn't the strongest receipt management tool. I think Receipt Bank's actually better on that portion. Concur, which I think is owned by SAP now, by SAP. It's a very strong contender. Concur typically deals with some of the larger sort of industrial type of clients. We have Tally itself, the first one I mentioned. Tally itself, the one that takes combines actual timesheets, reimbursements, and receipt management. Tally itself could be the best, possibly the best overall tool, but Expensify, because of their customer service, in my opinion, and integration with T-Sheets, to me, ended up being what kind of took it over the edge. I think Tally and Expensify are actually up there, sort of hand in hand on that. Amex Receipt Match, it's got similar technology on matching a receipt with American Express transaction. QBE, Bill Quick, and Big Time are also similar or quote unquote competitors in the market. Now, HubDoc. HubDoc is a single document management tool that can do both manual upload of documents or automatic downloading or fetching from online sources. Now, as a document manager tool, HubDoc is kind of a mess. The interface is kind of all over the place. So it's not really the strongest if you compare it with Neat, which is super clean, super easy to use, or Receipt Bank, which is really advanced on the OCR technology. So HubDoc doesn't really win in the document management category, but they have one extremely unique factor that is the only one in the marketplace that I think that really takes it over the edge, which is the fact that HubDoc in the back end connects to the institutions and fetches, downloads, the transactions from the banks directly. So I don't have to sit there, download it from Wells Fargo, and upload it to my document management system. HubDoc will log in, get it for you, and put it in that document management system, and that takes it over the edge because myself and my firm, we spend sometimes up to an hour just dealing with getting documents, emailing the client to say, hey, I need your Amex credit card for October, and they mail you September, or they mail you 7 pages instead of 8 pages, or they scan them and you can't read half the scans. I mean, if you're in the industry, you know this is a humongous pain point, which is getting documents from the clients that are complete, and the other drama is getting them on time. We're always running after our clients for documentation. HubDoc takes all that pain away, and I think that because they went after solving that issue, HubDoc wins it firsthand. I would love to see a competitor of HubDoc next year, be better than them, but I don't. I think they're going to be difficult to catch just because they're innovating so fast. And free account for pro advisors or accountants. I put limited time there because I don't know if that's still happening, but I know I got my own free account that I use, so I can fully test it, fully look at it before I actually add clients to it. And it's not cheap. I'll admit that it is absolutely not cheap. It's, let's call it, expensive compared to some of the apps out there. But if it does solve that problem, I pay the $20 if it takes an hour away from my time. So that's really important to just kind of like just keep in mind. And again, I'm trying to be as from a personal perspective, I'm trying to be transparent and try to kind of give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, what are the similar tools and competitors? Expensify, Receipt Bank. I mean, on the document management side, there's a lot of players in this area. Now, Bill.com is also a similar kind of competitor, but what HubDoc did is instead of going after Bill.com business, they partner. And they said, Bill.com, if you want us to fetch the document and you still want to be the one that manages the payment to that vendor, they now integrate with each other. So I thought that was really smart of them. Now, on the reports category, on the specifically report consolidation category, is QVinci. Now, QVinci is not the only one that can consolidate financial statements from multiple sources, but QVinci can do QuickBooks Online files, QuickBooks Desktop files, and Excel files. So when you got these complicated situations where you may have one client in QuickBooks Desktop, two in QuickBooks Online, and one trial balance or P&L balance sheet that gets created by hand in an Excel file, you can actually combine all of them into a single tool. The other piece is it's got a very unique unified chart of account management tool. So you can have three different QuickBooks files with entirely different chart of accounts, and you can have one single chart of accounts for the consolidated report. For the consolidated report, you can say, well, in this one is called utilities, in this one is called office supplies, in this one is called miscellaneous, whatever, right? So you can actually still keep integrity and having an individual separate chart of accounts per company, and then have a single unified chart of accounts for the purposes of the consolidation tool. Now, why did we pick it? Top 10, I think out of all of them, this was the easiest to get up and running. Just last week, I set up a client that had 5 QBO files, all different chart of accounts. It took me less than 20 minutes to set up the single chart of accounts and give my client a consolidated financial statement. And that is something, that just I haven't done that fast in any other app. Now, there's another huge contender in this category called Fathom. Now, Fathom itself has better looking reports, has more KPIs. Actually, QVinci, in my opinion, is really dull from all the other aspects of reporting except for consolidation. You look at QVinci and you're like, this is kind of, it looks like a sort of an older app, but it consolidates so fast, so quick. So to me, this was speed. It was absolutely speed. But specifically for, I would say, presentation, I think Fathom is actually better. But I had to pick one, and to me, it was the one that got me the consolidated financial report the fastest. So I was a little bit of a utilitarian from that perspective. Now, QVinci is more expensive though. It is about a $20 a file. That's something that I'm a little bit torn in. Again, it was speed. It was the fastest one to get a simple, easy, consolidated financial statement. Who else is in this space? We have Spotlight Multi-Reporting. That's another app. QCube for QuickBooks Desktop is actually above and beyond what QVinci can do, but QCube doesn't talk to QuickBooks Online, and we actually said as a guiding element that you have to be at least compatible with QuickBooks Online to make it into this list. So that's the reason why we picked QVinci. Now, the fifth app is Qbo Convert Pro Plus, and if you've been a follower of my videos or QB Power Hour, you know this is not the first time I talk about this app. And in full disclosure, out of all the 10 apps, this is the only one in which I personally know the owner, and I personally have helped the owner modify this tool. So, and yes, I've gotten paid by the owner as a consultant to modify this tool. But this is a tool that I use every single day. And during tax season, I'm going to use it even more. I have actually approached them before this was even a known thing. And I said, can you customize this for my practice? I had them do a couple of things that I needed for my data conversion needs. And then after a while, he realized he had a really good product. He made it public, increased the price. Good for him. It's worth every penny. So what does Qbo Convert Pro does? It can create .qbo files. So whenever you cannot get more than 90 days worth of data from your bank, or more than 60 days or 180 days, or you want a specific set of data from your bank, and the only available data your bank allows you to download, it's a PDF bank statement, right? Or a CSV file. This software will convert it to a .qbo. That way you can use bank feeds. And this works in QuickBooks Desktop, it works in QuickBooks Online, and it even works in Xero. So a lot of people say, wait, I don't understand this. Why don't you just download the QBO file from your bank? Sure, if you can download the QBO file from your bank, save yourself the $300. You don't need this app. But there's so many banks that just don't download after 60 days, after 90 days. In some cases, you close the bank account, not available digitally anymore. So the only thing you have is PDF bank statements. In some cases, I have clients that are lazy, or I don't know what's wrong with them, but they can't log into their bank and give me their digital file, and the only thing that they can come up with is the bank statement. And sometimes it's just faster for me to convert it instead of be chasing after trying to log into the bank or getting the digital file. So it can also take an Excel file, a CSV file, and convert it to PDF. Now, something that introduced new this year, early this year, that introduced OCR technology. So before this only worked with PDF bank statements that were digitally, that were created from the bank. Now we can also do scanned. Now the issue with scanning is if the scans are low quality and things like that, of course it's going to be an issue. Okay, so I'll go to the next one. Now some of the similar tools or competitors in this space are ScanWriter. ScanWriter's been doing this for a very long time. I love ScanWriter. It was the first app that I bought. This one helps me a little bit more just because of speed. This software just does it a lot faster, and I'm a bank feeds type of guy. ScanWriter actually does direct input into QuickBooks, which is a different concept. PDF to Excel, which is a great software, but it's not meant to read bank statements. It's meant to read anything. So to Qbo Convert Pro is only specialized for bank statements. And CSV to Qbo, great program if you only got a CSV file and you don't have a PDF statement. All right, sixth app is Insightly. Now, Insightly, it's only compatible with QuickBooks Online. And I was a little bit turned on this one just because to me, QuickBooks Desktop is a really, really important application. I still use it. I have a lot of clients on it. And Method CRM, in my opinion, is the best app that can work with QuickBooks Desktop data. The problem is that Insightly is just so much easier to use than any other CRM, in my opinion, out there. We implemented Insightly in our practice. The phone app is super easy to use. The Chrome extension, which is what allows Gmail and the CRM system to be compatible with each other. In other words, if I get an email from a lead saying, Hector, how much is for you to do XYZ? I can literally take from my Chrome extension, which is a little side application, I can take that email, hit a button, and automatically convert an email to a lead. So that's just huge to me. And Method has that too, but it's just the phone app, in my opinion, in Insightly is the one that makes it the strongest. Sorry, I'm missing a T here, so this is not going to work if I don't put the T. So I apologize about that. It's Insightly, not Insightly or whatever it was before. So it's Insightly with a T. So we picked it because of the smartphone and because of the ease of use. Now, what are some of the similar tools and competitors out there? We have Result CRM, Salesforce, Zoho, Method, as I mentioned, Legrand, Agile. All those talk to QuickBooks in one way, shape, or the other. So strong towards Insightly CRM as a CRM application. Now, the next app is Notify. Now, this is a very new contender. This is a very new software company. I don't think that this software company it's even been out for more than 2 years, but what they have done has wowed me. So this is a contracting business and financial management software for construction companies. It is very inexpensive compared to the competitors, the Builder Trends, the Corcons, the Procores, the big sort of enterprise type of construction management applications. I believe it's like under $70 a month for up to 20 projects. And for any construction company that's dealing with no more than 20 projects at a time, this is a great app. Number one, because it's very visually appealing. So you look at it and it's just easy to understand what's going on. It can create ANA, G703 contractor application of payment documents. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. That's only for people that really deal with construction. It can do that, and there's not that many applications out there that can talk to QuickBooks that can do that. So I found that Notify was a breath of fresh air just to deal with the construction and contractor industry, which is an industry that I've never, ever traditionally ever even thought about putting in QuickBooks Online. So I have a big specialty in this area. I work with a lot of contractors and construction business. and because of the limitations with QuickBooks Online, I only put them in QuickBooks Desktop. I am very, very pro QuickBooks Desktop for construction and contractor. And if I can still put them in desktop, I will put them in desktop over using an app. Absolutely, just because it's less expensive. But if the client has to use QuickBooks Online for whatever reason, they want to do it, they have to do it, that's the direction they're going, no questions asked, that the best app for smaller construction companies up to 20 projects, Notify is the one that wins. All right, okay, let me catch a little bit of a breath here. Let me go ahead and open up another polling question. So I appreciate your honest feedback. Kind of let me know where we're heading with this. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm going to do a total of 4 polling questions, and you need to answer at least 3 just in case you happen to be in the bathroom or miss it. And each polling question needs to be up in the screen for 1 minute, so please answer that. For now, let me see if there's any questions. So some people are asking, where are the handouts? So I'm sorry, I literally got back from San Francisco. I was into it all of last week. This morning, like an hour before the webinar, I didn't get a chance to upload it. I literally put this deck together in the airplane. We already had picked out the apps, but putting some of the things. So I didn't get a chance to, but on the email blast that I will send with the recording, I will have the slides, I promise you. Let's see, a couple people say that they love Receipt Bank and they love T-Sheets and they like Receipt Bank over Expensify. You know what? A lot of people like Receipt Bank over Expensify for receipt management. I agree. A few people actually choose Tally over Expensify. I'm reading the comments here, and I think I mentioned that it's up there. It actually is up there. So let me see what else we got. I don't think there's any other questions that are really important. No. I mean, all questions are important, but the ones that I can actually pick up from here. All right, thanks. Let me go ahead and close the polling question. So the next app is Avalara of Attacks. Now, if you are a small business in one state, doing business in one state without nexus in any other state, then you don't need an app, right? QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Desktop manages tax really well. It's a simple process. Don't spend the money. Avalara is not cheap. However, if you got any clients, you work with a business that's multi-state, very common with e-commerce with multiple warehouse locations, working with Shopify, Amazon, things like that. Avalara is great, number one, because the legal aspects of being in different states, it's complicated in itself. So they have great legal nexus support. So if you have a consultation about, hey, I got an outside salesperson in New York State, but my warehouse is in Tennessee, and I sell all over the country. Do I need to pay sales tax in New York State? Those sort of questions, they're great support for that. So for multi-state sales tax management, they're best in class. And there's also an in-product experience in QuickBooks Online. So it's not a separate app per se. It is a separate website for you to actually file the returns, but for the calculation of figuring out what tax to charge in which county, in which state, it's all in product with QuickBooks Online and also with a major e-commerce, Amazon, Shopify. Now, some of the players and the competitors in the field are TaxJar and Taxify. Now, I'll be completely honest and transparent with you. I have never used anything else but Avalara. So the other competitors may have a great product. They absolutely could have a great product. That's true. However, I personally the only thing I know is Avalara. They've done such a good job at getting into the hearts and minds of accountants, maybe through the marketing, through how they do stuff, and that's the only one I looked at. So that'll be full disclosure on that. But I do know that most people would agree the best in class in category, which is why they get that. Now, Avalara works with both QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop. I think I should have mentioned that. Yeah, I don't know if it works with QuickBooks Point of Sale. I can't answer that, but yeah, it works with both desktop and online. Okay, next app is Carbon. Now, let me do another polling question, just so I don't forget to do all of them. So I'll do one more polling question before I do the last three apps, or two or three, yeah, the last three apps. So I just kind of want to know more or less whether you work mostly with QuickBooks Desktop, QuickBooks Online, somewhere in the middle. You'd be surprised how these answers change from month to month. More and more people get into sort of the online world, and more people email me and say, Hector, stop doing QuickBooks Desktop. I only do QuickBooks Online. So, oh well, I love QuickBooks Desktop, so I'm not gonna stop. But I know a lot of people are doing this, and I just came back from the Intuit Accountant Council, which is a very small group of accountants that are sort of like future looking, looking into what they're using for QuickBooks Online. And I tell you, I was the oddball there. I was one or two of the few that was still sort of hanging on to the nostalgia of desktop. Most of these people are completely in QBO. I don't know if they're drinking the Kool-Aid or what, but people are deeply, deeply, deeply in QBO, and I am I am kind of the half and half guy. I'm somewhere still half and half, although I know that QBO is gonna take over the world. Anyway, we got 90% of votes. I'd like to get a little bit more votes before I close the poll. So poll going once, going twice, close. I'll share the results because I know people are really kind of wondering about this. So if you take a look at this, we got about a quarter, half and half, and 35% more tilting towards QuickBooks Online, and a little bit more on the desktop side. So this is kind of interesting. I actually thought we were going to have more people moving more to QuickBooks Online. So I got more desktop people, my kind of people. All right, thank you for answering that and being brutally honest about that. All right, next up, Carbon. And I'm going to tell you something, right? Something really important about this, a personal commentary. Michelle Long and I actually had different choices on this app. Michelle Long's choice was Carbon. My choice was Aero. And my practice is currently on Aero. Aero. Not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. And both of these apps are really, really strong. They both only QBO, which is interesting because my practice is on QuickBooks Desktop, but the integration itself is actually not even important for me. For me, is the workflow project management piece. Now, what did Carbon do different than any other workflow applications out there? Number one, they focus 100% on accounting firms. So before they went to market, they deeply studied accounting firms, held conferences, had luncheons, asked questions, and they took real pain points to build the app. The number one pain point on the workflow management side for accountants was email. Email gets lost through the cracks. Emails are incomplete. Sometimes you can't figure out the threads. Clients are communicating in so many different ways. When the client sends you an email, is it a task? Am I supposed to do something about it? So many people leave emails unread just because they're afraid that if they read it, all of a sudden it's a new set of responsibilities. It is really, really interesting to see how people use email so much for practice management. So what Carbon did is they wanted to kind of solve that issue first. And they don't have the strongest project management application, but they did went straight to solve the email issue. So Carbon connects to your email and tries to pick off your clients from there and try to use your email as a really great starting point to figuring out where you start with your project. The other piece is because they sort of build it from the ground up, they went straight for visually appealing, right? So this software is very appealing to millennials, which are the bulk of the workforce in accounting firms that are doing the data entry stuff. That updating the projects and updating communications. So if you don't get the buy-in from millennials, again, just like I said with T-Sheets, it's just not going to work. So they went straight into getting a software that's going to be super clean, easy to use for millennials. Also, they've done an outstanding job with thought leadership content. value pricing, marketing. I mean, so many webinars and videos these people are outputting. And if anybody knows me, knows Hector personally, I have a sweet spot for video. So all these people, Carbon, are creating tons of content, not expecting anything in result. Of course, they're building a brand, and I think they're doing an absolutely fabulous job. So I actually agree with Michelle in the fact that Carbon, because they really did a great job with content management, that took it over the edge. However, full disclosure, I use Arrow Workflow in my practice. Now, why do I think Arrow, personally, why did I think Arrow Workflow was a little bit stronger? Because Arrow Workflow was built by a pro advisor, a person that, like me, and like a lot of you guys, and it was specifically meant to solve their specific issue. So it's not an accounting firm; it's more of like a QuickBooks consulting firm application. Plus, their template system, where you build this sort of preset templates based on the client type, is much stronger on the Arrow side. Neither here or there, Carbon gets the top 10 no matter what. Now, the other competitors are Pascal, Jetpack Workflow, Smartsheet, Office Tools. I haven't used any of them, so I can't give you any more insight than that. All right, ninth app, I think this is the ninth app, is Tax Planner Pro. Now, I don't know what to call Tax Planner Pro. I called it an estimated tax calculator, compatible with QBO only. I really wish it was compatible with desktop. However, there really isn't anything else out there. I think this is extremely innovative. Only player in the market. The quickest comparison would be maybe Intuit Pro Connect, which is tax software, which is a little bit more cumbersome than tax planning. So what is it? First of all, the person that built it is a CPA and tax preparer that had over 100 clients in QBO. And half of those clients sat down with him quarterly, mid-year, to try to figure out what my tax liability is going to be. And he knew this was a very slow process where you take the P&L and L and you export it to Excel and you project the rest of the year and you multiply it times the tax rate. So what they did with this, they created an app that gets your QuickBooks Online data, asks you a couple of questions, makes that projection, and tells you exactly what that quarterly estimated payment should be. Great for S corps, single owner S corps. They're getting better and better with partnerships and multi companies. They're not there yet, but we'll give them the award because of that. Just because they came out of the ground running with something really new, really different, and most importantly, affordable. I don't remember what the price is now, but I think it's under $10 a company. So that in itself, I give it tons of credit. So it's taxplannerpro.com. Okay, I believe this is the last app, 10th app, is Tax 1099. Now, what is Tax 1099? It's a 1099 form filing tool. Okay, why do we like it? Fun facts. Number one, I can upload my vendor info from QuickBooks to Tax 1099 and the dollar amounts. So obviously that was sort of the basic stuff. But the other really fun things is it can do more than what QuickBooks' built-in 1099 does. It can do 1099 INT, 1099 DIV, whole bunch of other weird 1099 debt cancellation, a bunch of things that I really don't do day to day, but every once in a while I need it. It can also do amendments, which are huge. I can't do that with QuickBooks. It can import from a spreadsheet if you happen to have a spreadsheet with, vendor name, tax ID, address, dollar amount. And it can also request your contractors a digital W-9 via email. So if you got a bunch of contractors, you don't have their info, instead of chasing it down, put their email into Tax 1099. It will send them the email, gather the info, put it in the database. I thought that was huge, humongous, a great pain point that they saw. It's the best rated app in apps.com in this category, and it has really, really great feedback from the pro advisor community. I've spoken to many colleagues, and they like it. Now, what's the alternative? Intuit or QuickBooks' built-in 1099 service. By the way, I've been using for 8 years. Been doing 1099s through QuickBooks, and I still do, by the way. But whenever I have clients that don't have QuickBooks or have these big spreadsheets, or their QuickBooks data is not good and they're gonna give me the information manually, or I need to collect W-9 information digitally instead of chasing down the contractors, or do something other than just 1099 miscellaneous or do amendments. This has been a saver for me. Okay, man, that was a lot of information packed into 1 hour. So I apologize about the pace. Now, some of the honorable mentions are, the ones that could have made the list, or were really close. And if anything, if we had a top 20, all these would be Bill.com. We gave Bill.com the award 2 years in a row. Only reason why we didn't give it to Bill.com, I'll be completely honest with you, because this is probably one of the best apps out there, is because over the year 2016, we haven't seen anything really big and new. I guess the application is so good that it doesn't need any improvements, but we haven't seen a lot of innovation from Bill.com. I would love to see. I'm very excited to see if they got something going on for 2016. And I guarantee you, if there's something good coming, we'll bring them into QB Power Hour and do a demo. But Bill.com is solid and it does deserve the top 10. But some of the newcomers that were being really innovative, we think they deserve the award a little bit more just because of that innovation. Receipt Bank, and I think I mentioned it many times, Receipt Bank for receipt management and OCR, which is reading the receipt, interpreting it, and doing the data entry for you. It's also big. Again, probably should have been in the top 10 as well. But I think kind of HubDoc and Expensify took their place with their own specific merits. Now, SalesPad is doing tons of innovation around the QBO inventory product. Honestly, for inventory, I'm still a QuickBooks Enterprise person, but I'm looking at all these options and I'm trying to find out which is going to be the best one for QBO. I think SalesPad is getting there. Fathom, I mentioned it when we were comparing it with QVinci. Fathom is the best, most beautiful reporting app, and I say that beautiful because when you're doing consulting, beautiful reports are pretty big deal. Most beautiful reporting app of all of them. However, for consolidation specifically, which is a pain point for me because I do a lot of multi-company, I thought QVinci was a little bit better. That's why. And Arrow Workflow, I think I spent enough time talking about that and comparing it with Carbon. An honorable mention. AR Collect, I came across this one recently. I really liked it. It's a simple tool. It allows you to put notes on receivables, estimate that cash flow. Is a pretty cool tool. Hopefully we'll bring them in next year for a demo because we've never done a demo for that. LivePlan continues to be great for business planning. Transaction Pro Importer, have to give them mention because they're extremely active in the community, in the QB Power Hour Facebook group, answering questions about importing data, types of data, stuff like that. For QuickBooks Desktop people, for QuickBooks Enterprise geeks, nothing really is better than QCube for custom reporting. So that's also honorable mention. For e-commerce, if you're working with websites, multiple platforms, eBay, Amazon, Shopify, Unify, it's a great tool to kind of gather data from all these sources and bring the data into both QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. Exact Online is probably pretty much the strongest third-party inventory app for QuickBooks Online, but it's really expensive as well. And Jobber it's getting better and better for field service management. So I think I wanted to mention all those apps, and put in the comments if you think I forgot to mention an app. If I did forget to mention an app, put it in the comments, and I'll put it right now. We got 3 minutes left, and I'll give you some commentary on that. All right, so upcoming episodes. Again, this is the last episode of the year. I hope you enjoyed it. We're gonna get back into the every 2-week track starting January 12th. A bit of a warning, we're getting an overwhelming amount of people asking for things for year end, payroll, 1099, a lot of the pressing issues for January. So we may add more stuff. So we may add more stuff in January. But for the time being, it'll just be a simple, every 2-week thing. But just don't be surprised if we do add another topic in there somewhere. Let me run the last polling question. Which is, did you learn something new? And one of the questions here is, who's number one? So no, I'm not gonna do a number one because they're all different categories. So I don't want to rank them. I think it would be a bit confusing to rank them. I think it's just better to give them categories and do them there. And if the episode was 90 minutes long, I would have done a top 20. There's other categories and other apps that I like as well. Practice Ignition. Somebody's mentioning Practice Ignition. I like Practice Ignition for engagement management, but I found it to be sort of very like sort of unilateral. It only did like one thing. And one of the things that I'm getting a little bit nervous about is apps like Practice Ignition and then Carbon and then Method CRM and then T-Sheets. We're dealing with way too many apps. So I'm actually starting to like more comprehensive apps on practice management than so specific like Practice Ignition. But I love Practice Ignition. What it solves for is great. So that's my commentary on that. Somebody else, Transaction Pro Importer versus 2QBO. I don't even know if that's even a comparison. Transaction Pro Importer brings in Excel data straight into the register of QuickBooks, and 2QBO converts a file into CSV or .qbo, which does it through bank feeds. So I don't think they're a comparison. They're absolutely different. Absolutely different. The 2 dates for January are the 12th and the 26th. So let me go ahead and close the polling app, and I'll go ahead and share the results. And I'm super proud that we're going to end the year with not one person saying that they already knew all this content. So that makes me really happy, and I think it was worth my while to do this after 4 hours of sleep in an airplane overnight. So I appreciate that very much. Let me go ahead and hide the results. And one last thing before you leave, I have another webinar completely separate from QB Power Hour called Enterprise Expert. That's going to be Wednesday of next week. We're going to cover QuickBooks Enterprise Enhanced Inventory Receiving, which is sort of an inventory management concept that is only really linked to QuickBooks Enterprise. So go to enterprise.expert to sign up for that if you're a QuickBooks Enterprise geek like I am. And that's at the same time, 12 p.m. Eastern. Anyway, this is perfect timing. Thank you very much. Join Michelle's LinkedIn group. Join the Facebook group where we can continue the conversation, talk about these topics, talk about other topics. I would love to hear success stories on other apps. If there's any of these 10 apps that you thought was intriguing, put it in the Facebook group that you'd like to see a full demo on. And that allows me to lobby and go to the vendor and say, hey, look, people are acclimating for this. And yes, demos have to pay to sponsor a QB Power Hour and do a demo. So obviously help me as well. If there's any of these apps that you think are worth doing full episodes on based on what I said, put it on the Facebook group. Go to the Facebook group, put it there. That way they know that there's a need for specific app education. Anyway, thank you very much. Have happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, whatever, and Happy New Year.